And in the season 1 finale, the Fox family has taken that stolen vehicle and traded it for a very inconspicuous orange conversion van. It doesn't take long for Bill to find the lot that they bought the van in and finagle the information from the guy who sold it to him. So now Bill knows exactly what he's looking for, and he gives that information to a bunch of Lucretia's soldiers. Allie, though, is trying to get his family to Guatemala. He stops off in a local store, picks up some food supplies, but on the way out, he makes a phone call to a guy named Hershey, whose name he got from Kalaka. Kalaka told him that Hershey could help him get a boat. After that, the family gets together and makes camp for the night on the beach. And in typical Allie fashion, he's trying to make it out to be like this is the greatest thing in the world. But both females aren't really having it. The only one who's still buying his bullshit is Charlie. And Allie can kind of sense that Dina isn't in the right headspace after what happened with the NSA agents, so he sits her down and explains that she doesn't owe those NSA agents anything. He tells her that the NSA doesn't give a shit about her, it's all about control, and then he has her go grab wood and start a fire. While the family is eating Mexican s'mores, whatever they are, he tells everybody that they're gonna go buy a boat, and they're gonna take that boat and head upriver, and it's gonna be great. When he looks over at Dina, Dina's crying because she's just had enough. She yells at Allie, "Do you ever think about how we feel?" And Allie says, "Yeah, of course. That's all I think about." But Dina shoots back, "Yeah, after we tell you that you're the smartest guy in the world for the millionth time." She tells him, "Do you know how deranged you sound? People are dying. And you think that everything's okay, but that's not how the world works. You just need to control everyone. That's why you make us live like this. You've spent an entire life inventing things that nobody wants and nobody needs. And the most amazing part is it's always them that's wrong. It's never you that's wrong." I mean, she really lets him have it to the point where Charlie actually stands up and tries to defend his dad, but Dina just shoves him to the ground and walks off. Allie gets up to go chase after Dina, but Margot tells him, "Sit down." And she gives him a look that clearly indicates she's on Dina's side with this. But eventually the family settles down, and the next day they need to prepare to go upriver. So Allie gives Charlie a bunch of money and tells him to go to a local store and just get some perishables. He then gives Margot a list of stuff to get as well in a completely other store. Things like duct tape, batteries, flashlights, that sort of thing. And then he heads off to go meet Kalaka's guy to get the boat. But once he closed the door, Margot tells Dina, "We need to find your brother because we're getting him and we're going home." And when Dina asks, "Well, what about Dad?" the look on Margot's face indicates that Allie is being left behind. So Allie goes off and meets Hershey. Hershey shows him the boat that he has for sale, which is a complete piece of shit, and he has way upcharged the thing. But it's not like Allie has a lot of options, so he's forced to pay this guy way too much money for this rinky-dink boat. When the guy offers to sell him other things, like guns, Allie kind of takes offense to it and tells him to get the hell off his boat. Margot and Dina, on the other hand, are trying frantically to locate Charlie. And Charlie was just doing it as his dad told him, getting some perishables. But as he was leaving the store, he noticed a really nice car coming towards him, and he figured that it was probably Lucretia's people. So he hides. And then he starts to tail the car. And eventually, a guy gets out, and Charlie notices that this guy is taking pictures of their van. So Charlie decides to grow a set, pull out the gun that he had, and approaches the guy at gunpoint, telling him, "Leave us alone. Don't send that picture." Lucretia's guy, though, clearly doesn't believe that Charlie's really going to do anything. So after a little bit of a back and forth, he sends the pic. But Charlie actually was planning on doing something. He shoots him right in the face. It sends everybody in the square into a panic because Lucretia's guy is on the ground, covered in blood, had been shot in the face. And as far as they're concerned, here's this teenager holding a gun, and Charlie is visibly shaken by what he just did. The cops show up pretty quickly. They take down Charlie, but the gunshot alerted pretty much everybody in the vicinity that something had gone on. And that included Dina, Margot, and Allie, who had arrived back with the boat at this point. They all went running into the sound of the gunshot, only to find Charlie being taken away by the police. And Allie knows there's not a lot they can do. In fact, making a scene about "he's our son" would put them in risk. So he grabs the girls and takes them back to game plan. Lucretia's guy, by the way, did not die. He makes a phone call to Bill telling him what happened, and then giving him a place to meet up. The police take Charlie into custody, but he doesn't have any identification on him. They're planning on getting in touch with the American consulate. And it's not like Charlie's giving him any information, so they just put him in a drunk tank. As this is happening, Allie, Margot, and Dina are in the van trying to figure out what they're going to do. And Margot says, "We got to turn ourselves in, because it's only a matter of time before Lucretia finds out that Charlie's in there, and she's going to do something. So the jig is up. We got to cut a deal with the American government and get him out. The kids can go live with my parents, but it's over." Allie, though, isn't willing to quit that fast. And when Margot tries to be the boss of the situation, Allie just walks out. yelling how there is no deal to cut, and this whole situation can be fixed. Allie and Dina then start walking by the prison and are trying to figure out what they're going to do. Busting into the place like you're playing GTA isn't really an option. But then Allie figures it out, the sewers. He starts following the sewer line, and sure enough, he follows it all the way to the river. And when he crawls down and inspects it, he can get into it. Now it's just a matter of getting the supplies they're going to need. He heads back with Dina, meets up with Margot, and as they're eating, he goes over the situation. The cops are completely understaffed. At nighttime, they're going to be out trying to arrest drunk tourists. That's going to leave 1, maybe 2 cops in the actual jail. All they need to do is draw them out, and then they go in and get them. While Allie is doing that, Margot is going to be creating a distraction and then heading off to get into a tiny little raft to actually pick Allie and Charlie up from the sewers. Dina is going to go off and get supplies and also help create a distraction. The family then breaks up and starts putting their plan into effect. And the first step is, before nightfall, Allie sneaks into the sewer, finds the sewer grate that's connected to the prison, and hides a hammer there, making it easy for them to escape. He then just has to wait for nightfall. But there is a slight issue. Bill is on their ass, and he is pissed because Lucretia's guy that was shot in the face, he succumbed to his injuries. And Bill is not happy about it. The guy was able to give Bill enough information on where Charlie was, so he's headed to the jail and is on a collision course with Allie and his family. Of course, Allie doesn't know this, and once nightfall does hit, Allie goes over the plane once again with Dina, and then heads back to meet with Margot because Margot has to punch him in the face to make it look like he was mugged. After she does that, Allie stumbles into the prison where there is in fact one guard and tells the guy, "I've been mugged. They stole my passport, they stole my money, they stole everything." And as Allie is explaining this fake mugging to the cop, that's when Margot lights the van on fire. And as Bill is driving by it, it explodes, creating the diversion that they needed. The cop immediately stops listening to Allie's story and runs out of the jail to find out what is going on. But as he's doing that, he runs into Bill. And Bill asks him, "You got a kid named Charlie in there? Because I really have to talk to him." And then he pulls out a gun, letting the cop know that this isn't a joke. He then tells the cop that the explosions going on are Charlie's dad. So this is going to go one of 2 ways. Either he's going to shoot the police officer, or the police officer is going to escort him back into the jail so he can get to Charlie. But as Bill and this cop are having the conversation outside, Allie, who is in the prison and frantically looking for keys, notices that Bill is outside having this conversation. And it puts a little pep in his step. He ends up finding those keys and actually locking himself into the prison. And Bill kind of cracks up because he thinks there's one way out of this thing. And he tells Allie, "I'm not going anywhere, and clearly neither are you, so why don't you just give it up at this point? Because my boss is coming into town, and I really want to make her happy." But Allie's not interested in giving himself up. He's interested in finding Charlie, which he does, and finding that sewer grate, which he already planted the hammer at. And after busting Charlie out, they do end up finding that supply closet with the sewer grate. They go into it, barricade the doors, which is a good thing because at this point, Bill and his guys have gotten through. And with the hammer, they start making the hole big enough for them to get through. But they also want to create a diversion. They end up busting up one of the windows and making it look like they snuck out the window instead of the sewer grate. Allie also has Charlie trash the place, so it's not as obvious that there's a massive hole in the ground. And just before Bill and his guys actually break through, Allie puts Charlie through the grate, he falls down in the sewer, and then Allie goes himself, but ends up covering the hole with a filing cabinet. Allie and Charlie then make their way through the sewer, where at the end of it, they end up meeting up with Dina and Margot. They hop on that small raft, ride off to the boat that Allie bought, and now they're on their way to Guatemala. But as Allie is driving this boat with a maniacal smile on his face, his family looks absolutely miserable. And that is the end of Season 1 of the Mosquito Coast. Thank you so much for getting this part of the recap. Please consider subscribing to the channel. If you like this recap, hit thumbs up. If you thought this sucked, smash that thumbs down button. I have merch, so consider buying a sticker. Stickers are cool. You know you loved stickers when you were a kid. Buy a sticker. There is also a share button. If you needed this recap, there's a chance somebody else you know needed this recap. So share it on your social media platforms. But once again, thank you so much for watching this.